I don't know what ghetto you crawled out of, but here we have standards. People like you should know your place." Victoria Ashford's manicured fingers gripped her champagne flute as she glared down at the black waitress cleaning spilled drink from her designer shoes. Keisha Williams looked up calmly. "I apologize, ma'am. Let me get you. Don't you dare look me in the eye when you speak to me." Victoria leaned closer, voice dripping venom. "Maybe this will teach you some respect." Without warning, she placed both hands on Keisha's shoulders and shoved hard. The splash echoed across the Miami Beach resort as Keisha tumbled backward into the crystal blue water. Her uniform billowed as shocked gasps rippled through wealthy guests. Phone cameras started recording immediately. Victoria dusted off her hands with theatrical disgust. "That's what happens when these people get too familiar. Have you ever been publicly humiliated so completely that you wondered if dignity was a luxury you couldn't afford? 3 hours until hotel board meeting." The chlorine burned Keisha's eyes as she pulled herself from the pool, water cascading from her black uniform. Her name tag floated beside Victoria's designer sunglasses like evidence of a crime. Around the deck, guests held up phones, their screens glowing with opportunity. "Oh my God, did you get that?" Jessica squealed to her friend, Instagram live counter climbing past 2,000 viewers. "This is going viral!" Keisha wrung out her apron, her movements deliberate despite the trembling in her hands. The memory hit her like a slap 5 years ago, standing in another luxury establishment, hearing those same words, "People like you don't belong here." She'd returned to understand the system from the inside. Hotel manager Derek Martinez approached with false concern painted across his face. At 42, he'd perfected the art of appearing professional while serving power. "Keisha, are you all right? What happened here?" Before she could answer, Victoria's voice cut through the murmur. "Your employee attacked me. She deliberately splashed champagne on my shoes, then became aggressive when I asked her to clean it properly." Derek's expression shifted as his eyes found Victoria's platinum VIP wristband, the kind that guaranteed presidential suites and unlimited spa credits. His spine straightened like a soldier recognizing rank. "I see." His tone cooled by degrees. "Keisha, perhaps you should go home and change clothes. We'll discuss this incident tomorrow." "She should be fired immediately." Victoria's voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to immediate compliance. "I've never been treated so disrespectfully. Do you know who I am?" Miguel, the pool attendant, continued skimming leaves 20 feet away, but Keisha noticed his phone angled toward their conversation. Smart kid. "Mrs. Ashford is one of our most valued guests," Derek explained to Keisha, his voice dropping to a patronizing whisper. "She's spent over $50,000 here this quarter alone." Keisha's waterlogged notebook fell from her apron pocket, pages of careful observations now bleeding ink. 11 months of documentation, guest behavior patterns, staff responses, management complicity, all nearly lost to chlorinated water. She picked it up, pressing the soggy pages together. "I understand completely, Mr. Martinez." Her calm response seemed to unnerve Derek more than tears would have. Most employees crumbled under pressure. Keisha's composure suggested something he couldn't identify. Rosa Delgado, the veteran housekeeper, appeared with a hotel towel, her weathered hands gentle as she wrapped it around Keisha's shoulders. "Mija, why are you so calm? This is terrible." "I've seen worse, Rosa. This is exactly what I expected." The older woman's eyes widened. After 30 years cleaning these rooms, she recognized the difference between shock and preparation. "Security to pool deck," Derek spoke into his radio, his authority bolstered by Victoria's approving nod. "We need an escort." Jessica's live stream exploded with comments faster than she could read them. "Karen strikes again," mixed with "Fire that ghetto waitress." The algorithm fed on controversy, pushing the video to thousands of screens across America. "Wait until my husband sees this," Victoria announced to her friends, loud enough for everyone to hear. "James has connections throughout the hospitality industry. This girl will never work in a decent establishment again. Keisha's phone, somehow still functional despite its dunking, buzzed with a text. She glanced at the screen. "How's the research going, Dr. Williams?" J. She typed back quickly. "Pattern confirmed. Systemic failure documented." "Who are you texting?" Victoria demanded, stepping closer. "Your boyfriend? Your probation officer?" The crowd of guests had grown, drawn by the spectacle like sharks to blood. Some filmed openly, others whispered behind manicured hands. A few looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Complicity wrapped in designer silence. "Actually," Keisha said, slipping the phone back into her pocket, "my research partner. We've been studying workplace discrimination for nearly a year." Victoria laughed, a sound like breaking crystal. "Research? Studying? Honey, the only thing you should be studying is how to properly serve your betters." Derek's radio crackled. "Security en route to pool deck." The young assistant manager, Sarah Lane, arrived first, breathless and eager. Fresh from hospitality school, she'd learned customer service from textbooks that prioritized profit over people. "Mrs. Ashford, I'm so sorry about this incident," Sarah gushed. "We'll make sure this employee is dealt with appropriately." "Dealt with?" Victoria's eyebrow arched. "She should be arrested for assault. Look at my shoes ruined. These cost more than she makes in a month." Keisha continued taking notes, her pen somehow surviving the pool better than her dignity. She recorded exact quotes, timestamps, and witness reactions. The data would be invaluable. "Ma'am, you can't take notes during a disciplinary incident," Sarah protested. "Actually, I can." Keisha's voice remained steady. "It's not against any employment law." The comment hung in the air like a challenge. How did a waitress know employment law? Two security guards arrived, Marcus and James, both built like linebackers but moving with practiced restraint. They'd seen incidents before, usually involving drunk guests, not staff members. "What's the situation?" Marcus asked Derek. "Employee misconduct. She needs to be escorted out while we investigate." Victoria pointed dramatically at Keisha. "She assaulted me, destroyed my property, and now she's harassing me with that notebook. I want her banned from the premises." The Instagram comments scrolled faster. "Justice for Keisha. Battled, fire her now." The hotel's Yelp reviews were already falling, one-star ratings appearing like digital locuses. Derek's phone buzzed with notifications, the social media team alerting him to the viral video. His face paled as he realized the magnitude of the situation. "Keisha, you need to come with us," Marcus said quietly. Unlike the managers, security dealt in facts, not politics. "We'll sort this out in the office." As they walked toward the hotel, Keisha made one last note. The subject exhibits classic narcissistic power dynamics when challenged by a perceived lower-status individual. Behind them, Victoria held court with her friends, retelling the story with embellishments that grew more dramatic with each version. "The way she looked at me so insolent, like she thought she was my equal." 2 hours, 45 minutes until board meeting. 2 hours, 15 minutes until board meeting. The HR office smelled like artificial lavender and broken dreams. Keisha sat across from Patricia Washington, a black woman in her 50s whose sympathetic eyes couldn't mask her institutional loyalty. On the desk between them lay termination paperwork, blank but ominous. "Keisha, honey, I've been doing this job for 20 years. Patricia's voice carried the weight of compromise. "I've seen good people lose everything over situations like this." Through the window, they could see Victoria holding court by the pool, her animated gestures growing more theatrical with each retelling. Her audience of wealthy wives nodded along, their judgment already cast. "Tell me what really happened," Patricia continued, her pen hovering over the incident report. Keisha pulled out her waterlogged notebook, pages still damp but readable. "I documented 17 separate instances of discriminatory behavior today before the pool incident. Would you like to see the data? Patricia blinked. Most terminated employees begged or cried. They didn't reference data. Data? Keisha, you're a waitress. I'm conducting research on hospitality industry discrimination patterns. Keisha turned to a page marked with careful timestamps. Mrs. Ashford's behavior follows predictable escalation patterns we've observed across 23 different establishments. The older woman leaned back, confusion replacing her rehearsed compassion. We? Research? What are you talking about? Before Keisha could respond, Derek burst through the door, his face flushed with panic. Patricia, we have a problem. The video hit Twitter. #pool incident is trending. He thrust his phone toward them. The shaky footage showed Victoria's shove from 3 different angles, uploaded by guests who'd witnessed the assault. Comments flooded in faster than a burst dam. Karen behavior at its worst, mixed with, this waitress got what she deserved. The divide fell along predictable lines, those who saw racism and those who refused to acknowledge it. How bad is it? Patricia asked, though Derek's expression already provided the answer. Booking cancellations are coming in. The main number is jammed with complaints. Corporate is asking questions. He paced like a caged animal. Mrs. Ashford is threatening a lawsuit if we don't fire Keisha immediately. Keisha continued writing, her pen scratching across damp paper. She noted Derek's body language, Patricia's conflicted expressions, the institutional machinery grinding toward its predetermined conclusion. What are you writing now? Derek snapped. Observing how management responds to legal pressure versus moral obligation. Her clinical tone unnerved him. It's fascinating from a sociological perspective. Derek grabbed for the notebook, but Keisha pulled it away smoothly. That's private property. Not on company time, it isn't. Actually, under Florida labor law. Stop! Derek's voice cracked. Just stop with the legal talk. You're a waitress, not a lawyer. The assumption hung between them like smoke. Patricia shifted uncomfortably, recognizing the dangerous territory they were entering. Sarah Lane appeared in the doorway, clutching her tablet like a shield. Mr. Martinez? Mrs. Ashford is demanding to speak with you. She says if Keisha isn't terminated in the next hour, her husband will pull their corporate account. How much is that account worth? Patricia asked quietly. $2.3 million annually, Sarah whispered. The number fell like a judge's gavel. Patricia's pen moved toward the termination papers. Keisha's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Jonathan, it's time. I have everything we need. She typed back quickly. Jonathan, it's time. I have everything we need. Derek caught a glimpse of the screen. Who's Jonathan? Your boyfriend is coming to cause trouble? My research partner. Keisha's smile was small but unmistakable. We've been studying this for 11 months. The confidence in her voice made something cold crawl up Derek's spine. Waitresses didn't have research partners. They had boyfriends and baby daddies and drama. Outside, Miguel knocked on the window, holding up his phone and pointing toward the parking lot. A black town car was pulling into the circular drive, the kind that screamed money and power. Looks like your ride is here, Derek said dismissively. Security will escort you to collect your things. Patricia hesitated, her pen still hovering. Something about Keisha's calm demeanor suggested she was missing crucial information. 20 years in HR had taught her to trust her instincts. Keisha, before we finalize anything, is there something you want to tell us about your situation? The question floated between them like a lifeline. Keisha could reveal everything now, end the charade, protect herself. Instead, she closed her notebook and stood. I think my documentation speaks for itself. She pulled a business card from her wallet, somehow still intact after her pool dunking. You might find this interesting. Patricia read the card, her eyes widening. Dr. Keisha Williams, Ph.D., Organizational Psychology, Harvard Business School. Derek snatched the card, studying it like a forgery. This is fake. You're trying to scam us. The university registrar can verify my credentials, Keisha said calmly, along with my 47 published papers on workplace discrimination. Sarah's tablet clattered to the floor. Published papers? Peer-reviewed research in the Journal of Applied Psychology, Harvard Business Review, and the Academy of Management Review. Keisha recited her publication history like a grocery list. My specialty is documenting systemic discrimination in service industries. Patricia stood slowly, pieces falling into place. You've been conducting research, here, for 11 months. With full documentation, multiple witnesses, and legal representation. Keisha straightened her damp uniform. Today was simply the culmination of a comprehensive study. Derek's face cycled through colors like a broken traffic light. You can't. This is entrapment. Actually, it's academic research. Perfectly legal when conducted in public spaces with proper methodology. Through the window, they watched a tall, distinguished black man exit the town car. Even from a distance, his presence commanded attention. Hotel staff straightened unconsciously. Guests turned to stare. That would be my research partner now, Keisha said, checking her watch. Dr. Jonathan Williams. Perhaps you've heard of him? Sarah's strangled gasp provided the answer. Williams? Williams Hospitality Group? The billion-dollar company that owned 12% of Miami's luxury hotel market. The corporate giant is currently negotiating acquisitions throughout Florida. The empire that could make or break careers with a single decision. Derek's face went white as fresh bed sheets. Impossible, he whispered. You're just a waitress. Keisha picked up the termination papers and handed them back to Patricia. I think you'll want to reconsider this decision. Outside, Jonathan Williams approached the hotel entrance, his presence causing ripples of recognition among the staff. The doorman nearly tripped over himself opening the door. Victoria, still regaling her friends with embellished tales of her victory, remained oblivious to the shift in atmosphere. She basked in the attention, unaware that her 15 minutes of fame were about to become a lifetime of infamy. Should we call Mrs. Ashford? Sarah stammered. Keisha gathered her notebook, each page a testimony to 11 months of careful documentation. I wouldn't worry about Mrs. Ashford. She's about to receive a very thorough education. 1 hour, 30 minutes until board meeting, 45 minutes until board meeting. The lobby fell silent as Jonathan Williams entered, his custom Italian suit catching the afternoon light filtering through crystal chandeliers. At 6'3", with silver threading his temples, he moved with the quiet authority of someone who'd never needed to raise his voice to command attention. The doorman's hands shook as he held the door. Good afternoon, Mr. Williams. We weren't expecting you today. Last-minute visit. Jonathan's smile was polite but distant. I'm here to see my wife. The word hung in the air like a dropped bomb. Whispers rippled through the marble lobby as guests and staff processed the implications. Wives of billionaires didn't work as waitresses unless something extraordinary was happening. At the pool deck, Victoria continued her performance, unaware of the seismic shift occurring 50 yards away. The way she looked at me, so insolent, like she thought she was somebody important. Jessica held her phone higher, streaming the aftermath to her growing audience. The comments section exploded with speculation. Wait, is that Jonathan Williams? OMG, he's walking toward the pool! Inside the HR office, Patricia's hands trembled as she shredded the termination papers. Derek stared through the window, watching his career evaporate in real time. We need to stop this, he muttered, reaching for his radio. Stop what? Keisha asked, her tone genuinely curious. A husband coming to check on his wife? Sarah backed against the wall, her hospitality school training never covering protocol for accidentally firing a billionaire's spouse. This can't be happening. This isn't real. Jonathan's path to the pool deck drew followers, staff members emerging from offices, guests abandoning their activities to witness whatever was about to unfold. The resort's usual rhythm stuttered and stalled. Miguel spotted him first, immediately recognizing the man whose foundation had funded his younger sister's engineering scholarship. "Mr. Williams." He jogged over, his phone still recording. "Sir, I have footage of everything that happened to your wife." "Thank you, Miguel." Jonathan accepted the phone, his expression darkening as he watched Victoria's assault on Keisha. "This will be very useful." Rosa Delgado appeared at his elbow, her face flushed with indignation. "Senor Williams, they treated her like garbage. That woman, she pushed your wife in the water like she was nothing." "Where is my wife now?" Jonathan's voice remained calm, but something dangerous flickered behind his eyes. "HR office," Rosa pointed. "They're gonna fire her, after what that bruja did." Jonathan nodded his thanks and continued toward the pool, each step drawing more attention. The wealthy guests began recognizing him, a face from Forbes covers and business conference keynotes. Phones appeared, capturing his approach from multiple angles. Victoria threw back her head, laughing at her own embellished narrative. "I told her, know your place. Some people need to be reminded where they belong in society." Her friends nodded along, their agreement automatic and thoughtless. Brittany raised her champagne flute in toast. "To put the help in their place. To put people in their place." Jonathan's voice cut through their celebration like a blade. Victoria spun around, nearly dropping her drink. Her face went through several expressions: confusion, recognition, then calculating charm. "Oh, Mr. She extended her hand, suddenly all smiles and southern grace. "Williams. Jonathan Williams." He didn't take her hand. "I believe you've met my wife." The words hit Victoria like a physical blow. Her carefully constructed confidence crumbled as the implications crashed over her. The waitress she'd humiliated, the woman she'd shoved into chlorinated water, the help she'd put in their place. "Your wife?" Victoria's voice came out as a squeak. "Dr. Keisha Williams. She's been conducting research here for 11 months. Jonathan pulled out his phone, displaying a photo from their wedding day, Keisha radiant in white silk, Jonathan beaming beside her. "Perhaps you remember her from earlier today?" Jessica's live stream viewership spiked past 50,000 as the story took its impossible turn. Comments flooded faster than moderators could manage. "Holy shit, the plot twist! This is better than any movie!" Victoria's friends melted away like sugar in rain, suddenly finding urgent reasons to be elsewhere. Brittany mumbled something about checking on her children. Jessica kept filming but stepped back, sensing the approaching storm. "There must be some mistake," Victoria stammered. "She's just a waitress. I saw her serving drinks." "She has a PhD from Harvard in organizational psychology." Jonathan's tone remained conversational, making his words more devastating. "She's published 47 peer-reviewed papers on workplace discrimination. Currently, she's documenting systematic bias in the hospitality industry." He gestured toward the HR office window, where Keisha could be seen calmly discussing something with Patricia. "Today's incident will be featured prominently in her upcoming congressional testimony next month." Victoria's face cycled through pale, red, then gray. "Congressional testimony?" "The Senate Labor Committee is very interested in her research, particularly her findings about how management enables discriminatory behavior among high-spending guests." Jonathan's smile was as sharp as the winter wind. "Your performance today was remarkably illustrative." Derek burst from the hotel, security guards flanking him like an escort. His face glistened with sweat as he approached, clearly having sprinted across the property. "Mr. Williams, sir! There's been a terrible misunderstanding." Jonathan turned his attention to the manager, his expression shifting from cold to arctic. "Derek Martinez, isn't it? You were about to terminate my wife for being assaulted by a guest." "Sir, I had no idea who she was. If I had known—" "You would have treated her differently?" Jonathan's question landed like a trap. "Based on her husband's wealth rather than her inherent dignity as a human being?" Derek's mouth opened and closed soundlessly, a fish gasping on dry land. Security guard Marcus stepped forward, his years of experience reading dangerous situations sending up red flags. "Sir, should we clear the area?" "No need." Jonathan's voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. Mrs. Ashford was just explaining her philosophy about people knowing their place in society. Victoria found her voice, desperation making her reckless. "Look, I'm sorry if I offended your wife, but she was being aggressive and I felt threatened." Miguel held up his phone, the assault clearly visible on the screen. "Aggressive? She was cleaning up spilled champagne when you pushed her into the pool." "That's not what happened." Victoria's composure shattered completely. "She was looking at me wrong, being uppity. I had to teach her respect." The words hung in the suddenly quiet air like poisonous smoke. Even her remaining friends cringed at the blatant racism. Jonathan pulled out his tablet, swiping to a document marked with official letterhead. "Mrs. Ashford, you've just provided an excellent confession for both the criminal assault charges and the federal civil rights violation." "Criminal charges?" Victoria's voice cracked. "Assault and battery captured on multiple cameras? Hate crime enhancement due to the racial motivation you just admitted." Jonathan's legal background, Harvard Law before his business career, showed in his precise language. "The federal civil rights violation carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison." Sarah Lane appeared beside Derek, tablet clutched to her chest like armor. "Mr. Williams, sir, we can resolve this internally. No need for legal action." "I'm afraid that decision isn't mine to make." Jonathan gestured toward the HR office. "My wife is the victim here, but I can tell you that Williams' Hospitality Group takes discrimination very seriously." Derek's face went ashen. "Williams' Hospitality Group? We own 847 hotels worldwide. We're currently negotiating acquisitions throughout Florida." Jonathan's tone remained conversational despite the nuclear implications. "This property was actually on our acquisition list." The word "was" fell like a death sentence. "Mr. Williams, please let me explain," Derek started. "Explain what? How did you immediately side with a guest who assaulted an employee? How did you prepare termination papers without investigating? How would you have destroyed an innocent woman's livelihood to protect your profit margins?" Each question hit like a physical blow. Derek stumbled backward, his authority evaporating in the Miami heat. Jonathan's phone buzzed with a text from Keisha. "How are things going out there, Dr. Williams?" He typed back, "Educational. Patricia is shredding termination papers. Derek appears to be having an existential crisis." Victoria made one last desperate play, her voice taking on a pleading tone. "Mr. Williams, my husband James has significant investments in hospitality. Perhaps we can work something out?" "James Ashford of Ashford Capital Partners?" Jonathan's eyebrow arched. "Interesting. They manage the pension fund for Williams Hospitality Group employees. 300 million under management." Victoria's face lit up with hope. "Yes. You see, we can resolve this business to business." "We could," Jonathan agreed. "Except Ashford Capital just lost their largest client, effective immediately." The pronouncement hit Victoria like a physical blow. 300 million in lost assets would devastate her husband's firm. Their lifestyle, their social standing, their future, all collapsing like a house of cards. "You can't do this!" she shrieked. "Over some waitress?" "Over my wife. Over human dignity. Over the systematic racism you've demonstrated today." Jonathan's voice never rose above conversational level, making his words more powerful. "Actions have consequences, Mrs. Ashford. Today you're learning that lesson." Jessica's live stream hit 100,000 viewers as the story reached its climax. The comments section became a digital coliseum. Justice served, battled with, "This is reverse racism," while most viewers simply watched in stunned amazement. Through the HR office window, they could see Keisha rising from her chair, her notebook tucked securely under her arm. Patricia looked like a woman who'd just dodged a career-ending bullet. Jonathan checked his watch. Keisha should be joining us shortly. She'll want to document your response for her research. Victoria looked around wildly, seeking escape routes or allies. She found neither. The crowd of guests and staff formed an impromptu tribunal, their phones recording every moment for posterity. 20 minutes until board meeting, 15 minutes until board meeting. Keisha emerged from the hotel, her damp uniform now a badge of honor rather than shame. She moved with the quiet confidence of someone whose true identity had finally been revealed. Patricia followed 2 steps behind, clutching a folder of incident reports like evidence at a trial. "Ah, Dr. Williams," Jonathan said, his voice warm with affection as she approached. "How did your documentation session go?" "Extraordinarily productive." Keisha opened her waterlogged notebook, pages filled with 11 months of careful observations. "Today's incident represents a perfect case study in institutional discrimination patterns." She turned to Derek, who stood frozen like a deer in headlights. "Mr. Martinez, your response time to guest complaints versus employee grievances shows a statistically significant bias. Guest complaint, average resolution, 4 minutes. Employee discrimination reports, never resolved." Derek's mouth moved soundlessly. How did she have access to internal metrics? Jonathan pulled out his tablet, swiping to a comprehensive presentation. "While Keisha was documenting microaggressions, I was analyzing macroeconomics. Shall we review the numbers?" The screen displayed real-time analytics that made Derek's blood run cold. Immediate financial impact. Social media engagement, down 73% in 3 hours. Booking cancellations, $2.4 million lost revenue. Stock price impact on parent company, 4.7%. Corporate accounts threatening withdrawal, 12, totaling $8.3 million annually. "These are conservative projections," Jonathan explained conversationally. "The algorithm amplifies controversy. Your peak damage hasn't arrived yet." Sarah's tablet buzzed incessantly with notifications. "Mr. Williams, sir, our corporate office is receiving hundreds of calls. The phones are jammed." "That would be the Williams Hospitality Group public relations team," Jonathan smiled. "They're remarkably efficient when protecting company interests." Victoria found her voice, desperation making her aggressive. "This is extortion. You're destroying innocent people over a simple misunderstanding." Keisha looked up from her notes. "Mrs. Ashford, you committed assault and battery while making racially motivated statements. Multiple felonies, not a misunderstanding." "I never said anything racial." Miguel stepped forward, holding his phone. "Ma'am, you said people like you should know your place, and that's what happens when these people get too familiar." All recorded. Jessica's live stream, still running at 150,000 viewers, captured Victoria's face contorting with rage. "Those aren't racial statements. That's just proper social order." The admission hung in the air like toxic gas. Even Victoria's remaining supporters cringed visibly. Jonathan opened a new screen on his tablet. "Let's discuss proper social order. Williams Hospitality Group employs 847,000 people globally. 63% are minorities. Today you assaulted one of our researchers and revealed the toxic culture we're investigating." He turned to Derek. "Your employee handbook states 0 tolerance for discrimination. Page 47, section 12.3. You violated company policy, state law, and federal civil rights statutes." Derek scrambled for damage control. "Mr. Williams, I was following established protocols. Mrs. Ashford is a VIP guest." "Was a VIP guest," Keisha corrected, consulting her notes. "Lifetime ban from all Williams Hospitality properties will be implemented within the hour." "You can't ban me," Victoria shrieked. "I spend 6 figures annually on hotels." Jonathan's expression didn't change. "Mrs. Ashford, Williams Hospitality Group generates $43 billion in annual revenue. Your spending represents 0.0002% of our business. You're financially irrelevant." The mathematical precision of her insignificance hit Victoria harder than any insult. She wasn't important enough to matter. Patricia stepped forward, her loyalty finally finding its proper target. "Mr. Williams, Dr. Williams, on behalf of the hotel, I want to apologize. This should never have happened." "Patricia, you were placed in an impossible position," Keisha said gently. "Your 20-year employment record shows consistent fairness until today. The system failed you, not the reverse." The kindness in Keisha's voice made Patricia's eyes water. "Thank you. What happens now?" Jonathan consulted his watch. "In 12 minutes, this hotel's board of directors will convene for their quarterly meeting. They'll be discussing the Williams Hospitality Group acquisition proposal." Derek's face went gray. "The acquisition? $340 million for this property and 12 sister hotels." Jonathan's tone remained conversational despite the staggering sum. "The due diligence period ends today. Unfortunately, today's events raise serious concerns about corporate culture and legal liability." Sarah's voice came out as a whisper. "You're withdrawing the offer?" "That depends entirely on the board's response to our demands," Keisha said, pulling out a printed document. "We've prepared a comprehensive reform proposal. The Williams Protocol. Non-negotiable terms. Immediate personnel actions. Derek Martinez. Termination for enabling discrimination. Sarah Lane. Suspension pending bias, training completion. All management. Mandatory discrimination. Prevention, certification. Policy, implementation. Zero tolerance enforcement with automatic termination. Guest code of conduct with immediate removal for violations. Monthly third-party audits conducted by Williams Foundation. Financial accountability, $100,000 donation to NOACP Legal Defense Fund. $50,000 employee bias training program implementation. Victim compensation, Dr. Keisha Williams promoted to Director of Inclusive Guest Experience at $150,000 annual salary. Systemic changes. Real-time incident reporting app with immediate escalation. Quarterly staff surveys on workplace discrimination. Public quarterly reports on diversity and inclusion metrics. Derek read the demands, his face cycling through emotions. "These terms, they're unprecedented." "So was pushing a Harvard PhD into a swimming pool for being black," Jonathan replied evenly. Victoria made one final desperate gambit. "My husband will never accept this. James has lawyers who will tie you up in court for years." Keisha looked up from documenting Victoria's threat. "Mrs. Ashford, your husband's firm just lost $300 million in managed assets. He'll be rather busy explaining that to his remaining clients." "How do you know about—" Victoria stopped, realizing dawning. "You planned this. All of it." "We conducted legitimate academic research," Keisha corrected. "Your behavior was entirely voluntary. We simply documented the systemic discrimination that already existed." Jonathan's phone buzzed with a call. "Excuse me, this will be the board chairman." He answered the speaker. "Charles, I assume you've seen the social media coverage?" Charles Pemberton's panicked voice crackled through. "Jonathan, please tell me we can resolve this situation. The shareholders are in crisis mode." "That's entirely up to you, Charles. Dr. Williams has prepared a comprehensive reform proposal. Accept the Williams Protocol, and we proceed with the acquisition. Refuse, and we withdraw our offer permanently." "But the terms are non-negotiable," Keisha interjected. 11 months of research documented systemic problems. Today's incident was inevitable. You can be part of the solution or remain part of the problem. Silence stretched across the phone line as Charles calculated the mathematics of moral compromise. Lose $340 million by accepting reform, or lose everything by refusing. "We'll implement the protocol," he said finally. "Full compliance within 30 days. Victory tasted like chlorinated water and vindicated dignity. Derek sagged against a pool chair, the full weight of his choices crushing down. "Mr. Williams, is there any way? You enabled assault, prepared fraudulent termination papers, and violated federal civil rights law," Jonathan listed clinically. "There's no way." Security approached Derek with the resignation paperwork Patricia had prepared. His 20-year career ended with a signature. His pension forfeited, his reputation destroyed. Victoria watched her social world collapse in real time. Her phone buzzed with canceled dinner invitations, withdrawn club memberships, deleted contact lists. Wealth without character proved fragile as spun glass. "This isn't over," she snarled at Keisha. "People like me don't go away quietly." "Mrs. Ashford," Keisha said gently, "people like you created the system we're dismantling. Your quiet departure is optional. Your irrelevance is guaranteed." Jessica's live stream peaked at 200,000 viewers as the corporate titans concluded their business. The comments section exploded with celebration and outrage in equal measure. Democracy playing out in real time. Board meeting convenes now, 6 weeks later. The Ocean View Resort looked identical from the outside, but everything had changed. Where Victoria once lounged in entitled splendor, diverse families now enjoyed equal treatment. Where Derek's discriminatory policies once festered, the Williams Protocol created accountability through transparency. Dr. Keisha Williams stood in her new corner office, reviewing quarterly discrimination reports on her laptop. The numbers told a story of institutional transformation. 0 tolerance incidents, 100% staff completion of bias training, and customer satisfaction scores reaching company records. A soft knock interrupted her analysis. Rosa Delgado entered, no longer wearing a housekeeper's uniform but business attire befitting her new role as Cultural Inclusion Coordinator. "Dr. Williams, the monthly staff survey results are ready," Rosa said, her English more confident after the company-funded language courses. "Do you want to see the good news first or the really good news?" Keisha smiled. "Surprise me." Discrimination reports, 0 this month. Employee satisfaction, up 47%. Guest complaints about service, down 60%. Rosa beamed. Turns out when people feel respected, they work better. Through her window, Keisha watched Miguel conducting pool safety training. His promotion to aquatics director came with college tuition assistance for his master's degree in hospitality management. The Williams Foundation Scholarship Program had enrolled 17 employees in continuing education. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jonathan. "Congressional hearing tomorrow, ready to change the world, Dr. Williams." She typed back, "Born ready, Mr. Williams." The Senate Labor Committee had scheduled hearings on her research findings. 11 months of documentation would become federal policy recommendations. Victoria's assault had inadvertently launched nationwide hospitality industry reform. Patricia knocked and entered, carrying legal documents. "Dr. Williams, the final settlement paperwork from Mrs. Ashford's lawyers. She's agreed to all terms." Keisha scanned the agreement. Victoria would complete 200 hours of community service teaching racial sensitivity at community colleges. Her public apology, broadcast across social media platforms, had garnered 2.3 million views, mostly from people celebrating her humiliation. "How is she adapting to her new circumstances?" Keisha asked, though she already knew. Divorce proceedings started last month. James lost 70% of his client base after losing the Williams account. Their Coral Gables mansion is in foreclosure. Patricia's voice carried no satisfaction, only factual reporting. "And Derek? Unemployable in hospitality. His LinkedIn shows he's selling insurance now." Patricia hesitated. "Do you ever feel bad for them?" Keisha considered the question while watching diverse families enjoy equal treatment around the pool. "I feel sad that it took public humiliation to teach them basic human decency. But consequences aren't cruelty, they're education." The hotel's transformation extended beyond policy changes. Williams Hospitality Group had implemented the protocol across all 847 properties worldwide. Other hotel chains, fearing similar exposure, adopted comparable standards. The industry was evolving, one discrimination lawsuit at a time. Sarah Lane appeared in the doorway, her demeanor humble but determined. The young assistant manager had completed intensive bias training and diversity education, earning her reinstatement as guest relations specialist under Keisha's supervision. "Dr. Williams, the new employee orientation group is ready for your presentation," Sarah said. 37 new hires, including 12 management trainees. "Thank you, Sarah. How are you finding the new protocols?" The younger woman's face brightened. "Honestly, it's so much easier when everyone knows the rules are real. No more guessing what management will tolerate." Keisha's presentation to new employees had become legendary throughout the company. She shared her story, the research, the assault, the transformation, not for sympathy, but for education. Every new hire understood that discrimination had consequences and dignity had defenders. Her laptop chimed with an email from Harvard Business Review. "Dr. Williams, your paper, Systemic Discrimination in Hospitality, an 11-month ethnographic study has been accepted for our special issue on workplace justice, expected impact factor, significant policy influence." Academic vindication felt sweeter than personal revenge ever could. Jonathan's arrival interrupted her satisfaction. He entered carrying 2 cups of coffee and wearing the satisfied expression of someone whose wife had just changed an entire industry. "How's the conquering hero today?" he asked, kissing her cheek. "Tired, fulfilled, ready for tomorrow's testimony." She accepted the coffee gratefully. "Any regrets about the acquisition?" "Best investment we ever made. The hotel's performance is exceeding projections, and you've created a replicable model for institutional change." He gestured toward the window, where families of all backgrounds enjoyed equal treatment. "Some victories are worth more than money." Keisha's phone rang, CNN requesting another interview about hospitality industry discrimination. Her story had become a touchstone for workplace justice, inspiring similar investigations across multiple industries. "Dr. Williams," she answered professionally, "will you accept our request for a follow-up documentary? From Pool to Pulpit, How One Woman Changed Corporate America?" She looked around her office, at the discrimination reports showing zeros, at the diverse staff thriving under equitable policies, at the industry transformation her research had triggered. "I'll consider it. But the story isn't about me. It's about systemic change becoming systematically possible." 1 year later, Dr. Keisha Williams stood before the National Association of Hotel Executives. Her Harvard Business Review cover story displayed on the massive screen behind her. The title read, "The Pool Incident: How Academic Research Transformed Corporate Culture." "Black stories matter," she began, her voice carrying across the silent auditorium. "Not because they're tragic, but because they reveal the truth. My story became your industry's wake-up call." The audience of hospitality executives, the same demographic that once enabled discrimination, now hung on every word. Change, Keisha had learned, came not from anger, but from evidence so compelling that denial became impossible. 11 months of research, 847 documented incidents, 1 viral video. The mathematics of justice proved more powerful than the politics of prejudice. Her presentation included real numbers that had reshaped corporate America. 94% reduction in discrimination incidents across participating hotel chains, $2.3 billion in avoided lawsuit settlements, and 847,000 employees now protected by evidence-based policies. Behind her, the screen showed Miguel receiving his hospitality management degree, Rosa cutting the ribbon on the company's first employee daycare center, and Patricia being promoted to Regional Director of Human Resources. "These aren't just touching stories," Keisha continued. "They're life stories that prove systematic change is systematically possible." Victoria Ashford's mugshot appeared briefly arrested 6 months later for assaulting a black cashier at Whole Foods. Some people never learned. But institutions could evolve when properly motivated. The Williams Protocol now operates in over 2,000 hotels nationwide. What began as one woman's humiliation became an entire industry's education. She clicked to her final slide. A photo from last week's Senate hearing, where her research had been cited in the passage of the Workplace Dignity Protection Act. Real-life stories have real consequences. Document discrimination, demand accountability, transform systems through evidence, not emotions. The standing ovation lasted 4 minutes, executives applauding their own transformation. Later, in the green room, Jonathan found her reviewing social media responses. Her keynote had been streamed live to 400,000 viewers, generating thousands of comments from service workers sharing their own experiences. "Any regrets about going public with our research?" he asked. Keisha scrolled through messages from Harvard PhD students requesting dissertation advice, corporate lawyers seeking expert testimony, and discrimination victims finding hope in her story. None whatsoever. Her phone buzzed with a notification. Black Voices Speak channel has gained 50,000 new subscribers today. And the platform had become a repository for workplace justice stories, each video demonstrating that dignity was non-negotiable. "The next generation won't tolerate what we documented," she said, reading comments from young viewers. "They're building a world where Victoria's behavior becomes literally unthinkable." Jonathan squeezed her hand. "Ready to go home, Dr. Williams?" "Ready to keep working, Mr. Williams." Your voice matters. Your story counts. Your experience can change systems. Share your own workplace discrimination story in the comments below. Tag someone who needs to see proof that justice is possible. Subscribe to Black Voices Speak for more real-life stories of quiet triumph over loud prejudice. Remember, sometimes the most powerful response isn't the angriest one, it's the most documented one. Turn your pain into data. Transform your experience into evidence. Make your story into systemic change. What would Dr. Keisha Williams do? Document, demand, transform.